but we're going to have this backup. And I know that we're going to do this because we just got the funding for it. In last year's budget, we lobbied. Well, it turns out it was easy. You know, there's not a big lobby to oppose people collecting rare plants. And every legislator we've been, not every legislator, but we would meet with legislators and try and pitch it. And okay, there's an existing network of research institutions and universities and nonprofits and botanic gardens. They're already collecting the seeds. We have a system. We're halfway through the flora. We just need some money in the gas tank. Okay, well, how much do you need? $2 million. What? That's nothing. So they gave us 3.6. And the team is out there right now, and by us, I mean, again, this is the opposite of the Royal We. There's dozens of teams out there from institutions across California collecting rare plant seeds. We're going to get 100%, but importantly, we're going to get 75% of our rare plants seed banked by October of 2020, when the world meets in China to re-examine the Convention on Biological Diversity, a treaty that every member nation has signed except for one. And that has a set of targets. One of those targets is 75% of your seeds seed banked. So we're going to bring, when the world goes there prepared to compromise, California is going to come with a really nice report card and do what California does, wave it in people's faces. Hopefully sign on behalf of the United States onto the treaty. So there is strategy to some of this that has the potential to really have leverage beyond just saving one of planet Earth's 35 biodiversity hotspots. We are going to pull the data that we collect, we're going to pull it together, give it to some really smart computers to model and identify our important plant areas. Every part of California will get a rank, and those that, where you have a cluster of high ranks, that's an important plant area. And we will be able to say, we'll be able to take this to those planning meetings where you're drawing lines on the map of California saying, this is housing, this is carbon storage, this is biodiversity protection. We'll be able to bring our sites in and say, this is biodiversity protection. And work to actually save them. Yeah. I can't say as much as I want because I only have a half hour. So I need to keep going. But happy to talk to you more about it. There's definitely more to be said on all of these things. And then, also within the roadmap and within all of our hearts, we're going to rebuild the landscapes that we live in. We're gonna restore nature one garden at a time. We're going to do a habitat revolution that seizes the opportunity to replace these kinds of landscapes. This is downtown San Francisco, love it. That's Audubon Canyon Ranch, if anyone knows. With landscapes like this, that provide habitat for the pollinators that we're losing, that help to reverse the insect apocalypse, provide habitat for birds, reduce water consumption, reduce chemical consumption and landfill waste, and just really importantly, give a chance for people to reconnect with nature and recharge in a way that we all really need. And so this is all part of what we're doing for the Biodiversity Initiative. It's stuff that we've been doing for years, and we're scaling it up now. We are told by the state of California that we have to do this. And so it's an exciting time, and we need money to hire staff, and we need brilliant people to hire, because the opportunity is here now. And then we're also looking at doing some other things that are, actually even more ambitious. And this is something I'm working on, not now, but in an hour. It's hot and heavy. We're looking at doing a survey of the biodiversity of California. California has 25% of the plants north of Mexico. It's got more plants than any other state. It's got more rare plants than most states have plants. And yet it's fairly unexplored. And anytime you go out there and look at a place, you find new populations, you find new species. We need to know what we have, so we know which areas are most important to protect and which areas we don't have to fight over. We need those data right now. We've got smart computers that can draw maps, but the data they're using were collected in the early 1900s by men wearing natural fibers. We can do better today with the technology that we have. And basically they were the last push. Since then we have defunded the fundamental infrastructure of biodiversity science. We've shut down museums, we've stopped training students, we have defunded that which is core to understanding our biodiversity. And so we're going to reverse that. We're going to do a survey of the biodiversity of California, of the whole state of California. And there's a lot of different strategies and parts and plans. One is to get money in the upcoming resilience bond to rebuild those collections, to rebuild the infrastructure. Bonds build buildings. And this is one of those rare cases where we need to build buildings. We need to upgrade the facilities that have been rotting away and being defunded for decades, and we need to build some new ones. There's a lot more to it. We also need to train more people because there just aren't enough biodiversity scientists to get the job done. And everyone in California deserves a chance to be part of this. It's interesting work, it's fun work, it's good work. And so this is a project that, to people like me, it looks like a chance to collect the data that we urgently need and a chance to collect the specimens while we still can. Because no matter what we do, we are going to lose populations. And each of those populations is priceless, is part of the most valuable thing on planet Earth, the codes for how to live in a place. And that DNA, those sequences, those specimens, are stuff that our descendants are going to be, they will value nothing more than that. As they're trying to find a sequence that provides resistance to this disease or to that fungus or survival in this drought, as the climate changes, they're going to want those specimens. So we need to secure those specimens as part of the survey. To the rest of the world, this will look like a jobs program, like a works project administration, because we need to train a lot of parataxonomists. We need to bring a lot of people into the system and train people to flip logs and vacuum up beetles, or sort those beetles into piles of things that look somewhat different, or run the beetles under a camera so that the AI can do further sorting, or actually be taxonomists and do the alpha taxonomy and describe those new species of beetles. And those people will look different from the taxonomists we have today. Taxonomists we have today are mostly old white men who can't ID the stuff because their eyesight is gone. And, this is what happens at the end of this decades of starvation. We've starved the system. And this is our opportunity to build a new system. It has to happen. We know that California of the future will look very different from today. And we have no other strategy for making sure that the conservation biologists of tomorrow are the people who are in California today. And this is a good one. It gets, does multiple things. And it's also, there's also, in addition to just the logistics of it, there's a responsibility. Because conservation and saving nature and biodiversity work is good work. As volunteers, as paid people, whatever you're doing, it feels really good. And this is an era where we are all just too disconnected from nature. And it's not just that this good, decently paid work should be available to everyone, and it's not. And it's also that the health benefits that you get from this, as opposed to other jobs that I don't want to denigrate. But there are health benefits to doing this kind of work, and they aren't just the physical health benefits of being outside sometimes. But the mental health benefits of being part of something that is really good, that is saving your brother and sister creatures, that you can go to a cocktail party and not apologize for what you do. I'm thinking of the lawyer I talked to yesterday who's working for a German company we're suing right now. So he's like, oh man, what a bummer for that to be your life. And so this is what we're doing overall. And I'm not sure how much time I have, but I have just another 3 minutes of slides.
You're good.
Okay, good. Cool. And this is all really ambitious, and again, kind of getting back to the theme of change, we're in an era, we are leaving an era where stuff like this would have been received like, oh yeah, nice dream, but that could never happen. But we're in a new era where this is happening. We are doing this, and we're accelerating. We're not doing it at the pace that we need to, or at the pace that we will. But we're doing it, and I also just want to put it back into the context of the change that we've all seen. When you look around this world, when as we move through a landscape that is paved, that is farmed, that is built, that has people poking at smartphones and cars driving themselves, the world has changed a lot in just a very short time. And it will continue to change at least that pace. And it doesn't all have to get worse all the time. And I really think that the future can look a lot better than today. We will lose a lot of things that we love. There will be tragedies. But we can also steer it. And we've got some good successes. We can also look at the past era of change and view it as a success. And this is, the first CNPS plant sale. When this new organization needed some money to do what it needed to do, there was, what are we going to do? How are we going to get money? Well, we could have a bake sale. Well, I've got some plants growing in pots in my backyard. Well, I do too. Why don't we have a plant sale? Sold out within an hour and became a CNPS thing, a CNPS tradition. It is the way that chapters fund themselves. It's the way that chapters get the resources that they need to give students scholarships, to hold events like this, to do all of the good work that chapters do. Plant sales are the fundamental engine for that. And they're also the engine to bringing in new CNPSers and to educating people and kind of, in being ambassadorial, evangelical. They are where we connect with the public and then send people home with plants so they can talk to their neighbors and spread the gospel. And so that is a fundamental success that has built an organization that gets to be in the game on this important time. We've also succeeded at saving North America's largest flora. We have 25% of the plants that occur north of Mexico. We're a biodiversity hotspot. As you see this column on the left, that is the California flora. That's North Dakota. So California's got more plant types than any other state in the union. This other red bar, that's the rare plants of California. About a third of our plants are rare. Also, about a third of them occur nowhere else on planet Earth. We've got more rare plants than 33 states. We've got more rare plants than 33 states have. We're like the Michael Bloomberg of plants. So, I don't mean to get too political here. But, and we have saved it with so much to lose. And when you look out at what we've done to the state in just a few decades, you would think that we'd have lost so much of that. We've only lost something like 20 species. And when we go out and look, quite often we find those things again. And some of them still persist in herbarium sheets because people in the past were smart enough to go out and collect specimens. And we can not just go and get the DNA off of those specimens, but we can get living seeds off of those sheets. So even where you would expect the greatest tragedy of extinction in the California flora, it's a success because we have done the science, we've identified which plants are likely to go extinct, we ranked them, we developed a ranking system, we put it into the law so that those plants have protections, and we've sued people over them, and mostly people have just avoided projects where they know they're going to get sued over a rare plant. And scientists have gone out and we've saved them, and we've saved North America's largest flora. We've also saved 50% of North America's most expensive real estate. Half of our land is publicly protected land, 50%. You know, a lot of this is federal land. Most of it is not managed as well as we would like, but Californians have come together to save this. This wasn't just a few cranky characters saying you should save that land. When you save 50% of land, that's an indicator that the society cares about it. And I think these are successes that we don't talk about enough that give us some inspiration for how we can succeed going forward. And then there's other inspirations. So, you know, my good friends and colleagues will do climate modeling to try and figure out where plants will be in the future, or birds, or anything else. And they'll take Maxent, the software that you use, pull it out of the box, use the default settings, put in some data from wherever. It doesn't matter, it's just data, even though the data are all totally wrong. And then, you know, the output says, you know, and then you put in some climate models of how we expect climate to look in the future, which of course no one has a clue how it's going to look. And you can't model the variability that is what these organisms feel. They feel that wet year, they feel that summer that was just a little bit too dry for just one day too long. You just can't model these things. And then the output